Hello everyone, this is ThorW, live streaming from twitch.tv/ThorW. Do you want to know if a servant is good enough to spend your hard-earned Saint Quartz on? Great, then allow me to give you the information necessary to make that decision. Today, we are doing another Fako Gacha Guide, and our topic servant is one of Japan's oldest, I mean youngest, there's not a gun pointed in my head or anything, poets, Sei Shonagon, aka Nagiko. We will be covering all of the points that you can see on screen, but before we get into these, fun fact with Sei Shonagon, she was accredited for being one of the compilers of Japan's oldest collections of poetry, the Monyoshu. She then went on to publish Japan's first collection of essays on her musings of the royal court she lived in called the Pillow Book, and was eventually, because of these things, known as one of the 36 immortal poets of the Heian area. So she has a lot of big credits for her writing prowess in the Heian period. Also, she looks kind of like a Nintendo Switch with her color palette. Alright, on to my personal opinion. In my personal opinion, Sei Shonagon is very good. She has good skills, good damage, she has some party support, she can Scotty loop, although it is a little harder for her than some other servants out there. She gives bonus damage to, or she has bonus damage against a lot of servants. Despite being AoE, she's pretty solid in challenge quests too. There's just about nothing but positives I can say about Sei Shonagon. She's an extremely good servant, and if you are looking for a good AoE archer, she is one of the best ones for you to pick up and start using. As long as you have Scotty to support her, I will make sure that I put this onto basically every single servant out there that is a quick servant. If you do not have Scotty, then it's not really that great, but with Scotty, she's amazing. So, basically, got Scotty, make sure to use her. Don't got Scotty, maybe think twice. Alright, let's start looking at her stats to see why she is so darn good. So, first off, we have her attack, which gets to 12,218 at level 90, which is very high for a 5-star servant in general, and her HP goes to 12,965 at level 90, which is pretty darn low for a 5-star servant in order to kind of compensate for that very high attack. Also, because I forgot to say this, she is an Archer class servant, which means, of course, that she is super effective against sabers and not very effective against lancers, weak to lancers. So, make sure to bring her against sabers and not against lancers. Very simple. Alright, moving on to her hidden stats. We have her MP gain at 0.57%. This is relatively average amongst all servants out there. As for her cards to make use of this, she has 4 hits on her quick cards, 3 hits on her arch cards, 2 hits on the buster, and 5 hits on her extra card. Relatively average hit counts overall, but the extra hits are where they count on her quick cards, and her arts have at least 3, which is what I would personally consider to be the average number of hit counts for any servant's card. Now, her star absorption, aka her priority for how easy it is to get crit stars on her above other servants on the field, is 153, which is a very high stat. Pretty much what you would expect from an archer. The only ones getting higher in general are some riders. And her star generation is 8%, which is a little below average. It's a little harder for her to make stars, but having an AoE quick effect does mean that she does have the ability to make stars pretty darn easily, as long as she has 3 enemies to hit. All in all, her stats, I would say, are above average. The above parts hit where it matters. Her damage dealing capabilities, the only part that could be better that you could really want is her MP charge on hit, but you can't hope for everything. Alright, moving on to her deck and her MP. If we take a look at her deck, we have 2 quick cards, 2 arts cards, and 1 buster card, a non-standard 2-1-2 deck with an extra quick over a buster. Her Noble Phantasm, Emotional Engine Full Drive, the Pillow Book Annotated, is a 4-hit AoE quick Noble Phantasm that will deal increased damage against any enemy servants that are neutral by 50%. It'll deal 50% increased damage against shadow servants, and it will deal an additional 50 to 100% bonus damage against any servant that is man attribute, or any enemy, I should say, that's man attribute, because there are enemies that are man attribute aside from servants. And this means that she does have a minimum of 50% bonus damage against a lot of enemies, including many, many, many servants. This is kind of similar to what Gilgamesh is able to do in his ability to deal bonus damage to a lot of servants. If I pull up the man image right here, bam, look how many servants that hits. That is 144 servants to be exact that she has bonus damage against. On top of that, there are several common enemies that are also man attribute that she has bonus damage versus as well. Meaning that it is very easy for her to get at least a 50% bonus against most servants, and if they're a neutral servant on top of this, then that is 100% bonus damage minimum. Sei is, like I said, kind of similar to Gilgamesh in her ability to do very high damage to servants, so if you're looking for a looping Gilgamesh, this is kind of it. Now, moving on to her passives. First off, we have Magic Resistance C, which increases debuff resistance by 15%. Then we have Independent Action, Self-Centered A. This will give her a 10% increased critical star absorption on her quick cards. We have Snow Atop Mount Xianglu A, which gives 10% increased critical damage for her quick cards. And finally, One Vehicle Teaching B, which gives 100% increased charm debuff resistance for herself. These are solid passives overall, nice buffs to her quick cards, making her critical damage even better and a lot easier to do. And she has full-on charm resistance, which means that there are certain kind of gimmick battles out there which can make use of that kind of thing, or certain servants you can face that like to charm very often, like, say, Shuten Doji, and while the classes don't line up, it is nice to be guaranteed that your damage dealer won't be charmed turn after turn after turn. Let's move on to her skills now. First off, we have Song of the Poet. This increases the party's attack for 3 turns by 10 to 20%. Increases the party's, or gives the party a 3-turn NP regeneration for 10% per turn. And finally, gives the party a HP regeneration for 3 turns for 500 to 1000 HP per turn. A pretty solid first skill. It includes a charisma buff, a 30% MP charge over 3 turns, not just for herself, but the whole darn party, and a little bit of HP regen as a treat. HP regen doesn't do a whole lot, but it's a nice little tack on. Next up, skill number 2, Alphasaku no Seiki. This gives Sei Shonagon evasion for 3 attacks lasting for 3 turns, and increases her critical damage for 3 attacks lasting for 3 turns by 20 to 30%. This is a great skill that mixes defense and offense pretty well, helps make Sei be a very good option for challenge quests since it makes her hard to kill on top of giving her very hard hitting critical damage. The one drawback of this is not a 3-turn critical buff, it is a 3-hit critical buff, which is a very different kind of thing. You'll run through those 3 hits pretty darn fast, unfortunately. Finally, her third skill, we have Starry Skies. This increases her quick performance by 20 to 30% for 3 turns, charges her MP gauge by 10 to 20%, and gives her 10 critical stars for the turn. Another pretty darn good skill. A 3-turn buff on her main card type, a quick NP charge, and while it's only 20%, it is nice to tack on to a damage increase, and some stars to make sure that she can get her criticals off a little bit more easier. It has a little bit of everything that Sei Shonagon wants to do. As you can see by the skills and MP that we listed, Sei Shonagon is built to hit with her quick cards a lot, crit very hard while doing so. She even has good survivability mixed in with her good damage, and pretty solid MP gain. She's got everything you want in one package. You can take her farming, you can even take her into challenge quests pretty decently because of her setup. So, what materials do we need to level up these skills? Well, the number of materials Sei needs isn't too high, but the rarity of them is a little bit costly. In order to level up all her skills, we're going to need 15 Aurora Steels, 15 Koton Magatamas, 11 Tsukumo Mirrors, and 10 Genesis Eggs on top of our normal stuff. The eggs and mirrors are pretty costly for gold materials that have been very common on new servants since they came out, especially once we add them all up. It means we're going to need 45 Aurora Steels, 45 Magatamas, 33 mirrors, and 30 eggs altogether. Good luck with everyone. Make sure that you farm those up. I'm sure a lot of you are upset that eggs are yet another demand because it feels like every servant has needed eggs for the past while. So, how does Sei Shonagon stack up against her competition? Is she worth the investment of the eggs, the dreaded eggs? Well, as a 5-star AoE archer, her competition is pretty stiff. It comes in as Gilgamesh, Nikola Tesla, Arjuna, Napoleon, and Jeanne d'Arc Archer, and I will make special mention of 4-star Atalanta since she fits the exact same niche as an AoE quick servant. This is hard to compete with. This is a very, very strong list of servants right here. In fact, I even forgot to list Ishtar there. I was like, wait, where's my Ishtar? Hold on while we fix this right now. Give me 1 sec. Live fixing. Bada bing, bada boom, Ishtar. There she is. I won't forget about her. Alright, so. When it comes down to damage output, Sei is pretty darn good here and competes with the best of the best. The best of the best being Gilgamesh and Ishtar, which is why we need her listed. So, because of her bonus damage versus man attribute, her bonus damage versus neutral attribute, and her bonus damage versus shadow servants, the shadow servants matters a lot less, it means that she is able to put Gilgamesh level damage out there against servants pretty darn consistently. Not all of them, but most of them. And because she already has such incredible support coming out from the likes of Skadi, it means she's able to compete with Ishtar level damage against non-servants. Again, there's plenty of non-servants that have the man attribute as well, which will take bonus damage. The likes of skeletons, Roman soldiers, Amazonesses, Celtic soldiers, etc., all have the man attribute. Even all the Nobus have man attribute. So she gains bonus damage against a bunch of different, very common enemies. She can also loop, which means that she is currently outperforming Gilgamesh and Ishtar, for now. Atalanta is also a quick archer that can loop, much like her. The big problem with Atalanta and why she doesn't stack up with, say, Shonagon, even if she's MP5, is the simple fact that Atalanta is built around a 1-turn buff really helping her out, and that's it. If you need that 1-turn 50% quick buff in order to deal the damage to kill something and then move on to your loop then you're not going to have the damage to finish off the looping. If you don't need it, she'll do just fine. Even if she's MP5, her damage isn't that high. Sei Shonagon's going to outdo her at MP2. So, she's far less potent in a looping potential than a lot of other servants are, and that's why she falls a little bit short compared to Sei's 3 turns of strength. As of this moment, at her release, Sei Shonagon is probably the best AoE archer in the game. The only looper that is able to really compete with her at the moment is Swimsuit Jeanne. The big difference is that Swimsuit Jeanne doesn't have the damage output that Sei Shonagon has, especially against servants, because she doesn't have that bonus damage. However, there's always a however, in a few months' time, Caster Artoria is going to release Tefeko NA, and she's the best support in the game bar none. She's the best servant in the game to have, and I suggest everybody try to get her. She makes arts looping much, much stronger and will make Swimsuit Jeanne by far the best AoE archer option in the game. Then, a whole year after that, if you're willing to really wait, Koyan Sky of the Light comes out and makes Buster looping possible for Gilgamesh, Ishtar, Tesla, Napoleon. So that means that it will catapult Gilgamesh and Ishtar to the top of the AoE archers. Sei is short-term the best, but she's going to be overshadowed in relatively short order. When Caster Artoria comes out, Jeanne will be better than her by a little bit, and then a year later, she really gets outshined. But will she still be good and usable? Yes, of course she will. She'll still be very good. If you like to use Skadi, if you like Sei Shonagon, she'll be your go-to archer. She'll be fantastic for you. But if you plan on getting Caster Artoria and you have Swimsuit Jeanne already and you like arts looping, you can justify holding off for a bit for her. As always, roll with your heart. go for what you want. And if you do roll with your heart and go for Sei Shonagon, you might be wondering what skills you want to prioritize in leveling. Well, I believe that her third skill is the first one to level up. It's the most important. It scales well, it gives an immediate MP charge, and it increases her quick cards, which is the thing you want to increase the most. The second most important skill will be her first skill. This gives her the NP regeneration, which helps make it a little bit easier for her to loop from one turn to the next. It gives her more damage up, and that's all things you want. And finally, her third skill is always good no matter the level. The scaling on it is okay. It's not the greatest. It's also not the worst. And lowering the cooldown is the main thing you're going to get out of this. A lot of times you're not going to need the third skill at all if all you're doing is looping and killing things, but if you want to take her into a challenge fight now and again, then this is an important skill to level at that point in time. Now, let's go over craft essences you would like to give her. Sei Shonagon is a quick-focused AoE servant with looping capabilities, so focusing on her NP looping is generally the good. We want quick up, we want starting MP charge, we want MP damage up, we want MP generation up, that kind of stuff. So the premier CEs that we got for free from events are both Traces of Christmas and One Summer. These are the two best CEs you can possibly have. One Summer is older, Traces of Christmas came out just recently. So if you've been playing just for a little bit, you should have at least one of these. One Summer, we'll go over first, gives a 10% quick performance increase, a 10% MP damage increase, and a 50% starting MP gauge, while Traces of Christmas, sorry, does almost the exact same thing at 10% quick performance up, 10% MP generation up instead of MP damage, and 50% starting MP gauge. This means that Traces of Christmas is overall, in my opinion, better on Nagiko, since she needs a little bit of help to loop, as she only has 4 hits on her quick NP. Getting that extra MP generation makes it easier for her to loop from one turn to the next. While One Summer does give more damage, you might need a third servant to help support her for an extra loop, depending on what kind of enemies you're facing, that is. Aside from that, Kaleidoscope is of course an extremely good choice. 80% starting MP charge, 100% if it's max limit breaking, means that MP on turn 1, just with her third skill charge is enough. Saves your support charges for following turns with your Scotty, that kind of thing, if you're looking for a very simple MP setup, while foregoing a little bit of your damage. Now, as for servants to group Sei Shonagon with, oh look, it's Waver! Still smoking himself to death as he works hard for us. He's made it to the list again. He has a 50% MP charge up, attack up, critical damage up. It's a no-brainer. He's just always going to be on the list. We're going to say it every time. Next up, we have Scotty. Scotty is the best quick supporter by far, thus making her Nagiko's best support servant. Even better than Waver, but Waver's always good. Scotty brings 50% MP charge up for teammates, 50% quick up for 3 turns, 100% quick crit damage up, 30% defense down for all enemies. It's really good to have her. She's a fantastic servant for your quick servants. In fact, she's just fantastic to have at all. She enables quick to actually exist, and without her, quick servants wouldn't get played at all. Next up, we have Nero Bride. Nero Bride is a good kind of third servant to bring along with your double Scotty. She brings 45% MP generation up to help with your looping, along with a 30% MP charge, and a 40% attack damage increase, and 50% critical star generation increase. Nero Bride can make looping easier for Sei Shonagon and make sure that she creates a large amount of critical stars, probably 50 on every single MP use as long as there's 3 enemies. Along with that, I would suggest Arash. Arash is a fantastic teammate for her to break through the first wave, since looping 3 MPs is kind of hard for Nagiko. If you have Arash bust down the first wave, it means that she can clean up the next 2 without too much worry about her MP charge, because she'll have a double Scotty to help make sure that she can get 100% twice in a row. And finally, Atalanta is another very good kind of semi-support to bring as an ally. She has 1 turn of 50% quick up. She has her own good AoE quick NP to help deal damage for when you need a little extra oomph. And she's just very helpful in making sure that your quick servants can get that one extra step they might need for damage. And she's more budget friendly than, say, a Nero Bride or a Waver. So a quick too long didn't watch here. This is a very good servant to roll for. Sei Shonagon is quite good. She can loop, she has good skills, she has high crit damage, she can challenge fight, she can really do just about anything you can ask for her to do. She's extremely good, and while she may be overshadowed at a later date, she will continue to perform very well. She's not going to fall off nearly as hard as I might be making it seem. It means that she's going to be an A+ tier servant in a world where her competition is S tier servants because archers are the most broken class for damage dealing. But if you need another reason to pull for her, it's very simple. She's a super cute, bubbly girl with a very intense voice. Let me know your opinions on Sei Shonagon, and if you enjoyed this video, follow me on Twitch, join the Discord, and all that. Thank you very much for watching, guys. I will see you all next time, and good luck on your rolls. Thanks for watching the Gacha Guide.